Here's another video of Biden lying about the Trump tax cuts yet again. Check this out.
Didn't you find it kind of interesting that my Republican friends were worried about that the cost and the taxes that had to be had, if there is any tax to be had, as they talk about it, in dealing with the act that we just passed, which puts money in people's pockets, ordinary people? Do you hear them complain when they passed close to $2 trillion Trump tax cut, 83% going to the top 1%? Do you hear them talk about that at all?
So, it's so easy. It's so easy. It's so easy. It's so. Remember that song, Joe? I know you're more of a pop culture guy than I am. Yeah, that was a real doozy. So, 83% of the Trump tax cuts went to the top 1%. Is that a fact? Of course not. Joe Biden said it. Here's an article at Breitbart. I will have in my newsletter today. Again, Bongino.com/newsletter to get my newsletter every day. Fact check. Joe Biden claims nearly all the Trump tax cuts went to the wealthy. John Carney. Is that true or false? Of course it's false. Joe Biden said it. Let's look at the actual data from the Breitbart article. And then I'll actually show you the tax cuts, showing you again, Joe Biden's just making this up. Quote, Breitbart, the Nonpartisan Tax Policy Center estimated in 2018 that the top 1% would get 20.5% of the tax cuts. That can't be, Joe. Biden said they got 83%.
Yeah.
Of course. What does that mean? That means either the Nonpartisan Tax Policy Center is lying or Joe Biden's lying. I'm going to venture to say it's Joe Biden that's lying. Just throwing that out there. Yeah. Goes on. The top 20% would get 65.3% of the tax cuts. Not surprising, because higher income people pay most of the income tax. So cuts to income taxes tend to benefit them. Liberals are scratching their heads right now. Oh my gosh, that's too much information. I can't really process that. Let me show you the actual Trump tax cuts, by the way, again, from not a partisan site, from Investopedia. Investopedia. It's not some, again, bastion of right-wing values. Investopedia, quote, explaining the Trump tax reform plan. So let's look at who actually got an income tax cut. Again, to thoroughly refute Biden's nonsense that it went to the wealthy. Again, already refuted by the Tax Policy Center. Let's look at the rates. So if you were really rich and you were in the top bracket, folks, your rate fell from 39.6 to 37. That's a 2.6 percentage point tax cut. All right, so wealthy folks did get a tax cut. The next level down, so you're doing pretty well. The 33% bracket, you dropped to 32, so you got a 1 percentage point cut. So that's really your rich people. Now we start getting to the middle class tax cuts. 28% bracket fell to 24%. That's 4%. Joe, keep these are very complicated numbers. Keep these in your head if you would. I'm going to need a favor from you in a moment.
Okay.
So the middle class, upper middle class, got a 4 percentage point tax cut. Then you're talking about the middle class below them. Their bracket went from 25% to 22%. So they got a 3% tax cut. And then kind of the lower middle class went from 15% to 12%, a 3 percentage point tax cut. So, Joe, I'm going to do some very complicated math. I want you to tell me now what number is greater. The rich who got a tax cut of 2.6 percentage points or the middle class, which got a 3 or 4% percentage point tax cut. Take a moment to think this through. What number is larger, 3 or 4 or 2.6? If you need a pen, I will give you a moment, please. What number is larger, 3 or 4 or 2.6?
You always do this. 4 is larger. Am I? All right.
The guy's a genius.
All right.
Einsteinian intellect right here.
My man.
Armacost comes through in the clutch again, even though as he said, I do this to him often. I stress him out by putting him on the spot with complicated math equations. He comes through in the clutch, does the quadratic equation combined with the Pythagorean formula, and he figures out amazingly that a 3 or 4 percentage point cut is larger than a 2.6 percentage point cut. What would I do without Joe? But again, libs, don't let this get in the way of your silly, stupid arguments that, yes, only the wealthy got a tax cut under Trump. You'll keep saying it. I know you will, because you just can't stop yourself. I get it. This show is only for sane people.